What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a movie that I am really excited to talk about, and that is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This is a darker take on that fairy tale story, and this was a movie that I was not expecting to be emotionally draining and powerful. I absolutely adored this movie. I have loved Guillermo del Toro's work ever since Pan's Labyrinth. I think what he did with that movie made me appreciate the art of filmmaking and seeing what kind of stories you're able to do, especially with different type of creatures and monsters. And that is exactly what I love about his films. It's that the fact that he's able to make these stories around these creatures and tell a very compelling and different story, probably one that we've never seen before, and he takes that material and he just expands on his own worlds. And this is the second time that he has made me cry since his Oscar win. That what he is doing is magnetic, and I have loved everything that he has done that I've seen since Pan's Labyrinth, which makes me very guilty because I have not checked out Cabin of Curiosity, because Guillermo del Toro seems like a guy you want to go have a coffee with and just talk about movies for a long while. Maybe all day, maybe all week, maybe all year. But he just seems like the guy that you just want to talk about films about. And in this movie, he does not disappoint. This movie is not your Disney fairy tale story. This movie goes into dark themes about loss, grief, death, about imperfect fathers and sons, war, manipulation. It goes into all of that, and that is something that I loved and appreciate about this film. This movie is about loss and grief, about spending the time that you have with your loved ones, about maybe not saying the right things at the right time, but knowing that they have different meanings to things. And that is something that I found extremely beautiful. You have Ewan McGregor, who plays Sebastian J. Cricket, and he was an absolute delight. He is a novelist. He is the moral compass for Pinocchio, as we've seen in the other Pinocchio stories. And even though it does have the bones of what Pinocchio is, about a wooden boy that wants to be a real boy, his nose keeps growing, but this time, instead of having a really long nose, it grows into a tree, and that is something that I love. That was a really nice different take. You have Gregory Mann as the voice of Pinocchio and David Bradley as the voice of Geppetto, and the relationship that they built between these two in this film was not only just about imperfect fathers and son, about this guy who lost his son during a really shitty situation, and the fact that he's not able to move on, so he builds this wooden boy in order for him to cope with his grieving and have somebody to love, because he's not able to move on. The whole town has moved on from his passing, but he has not moved on. And that was something that was not only emotionally draining, but it was really powerful to see, because this is the first time, I believe, that we've ever seen something like this, where we've seen a drunken Geppetto trying to get over the loss of his son. And that was something that really moved me, and the first 5 minutes of this movie gets us to care about the relationship between him and Carlo. I thought that was really well done. It was powerful. The way they showed the love for his son was emotionally draining. Everything that happens between Geppetto and Pinocchio was emotionally draining, because you have this wooden boy who calls Geppetto his papa, and Geppetto doesn't want to accept him as his son because that's not his son, and he has not been able to move on. Geppetto is trying to mold Pinocchio into being more like Carlo instead of his own person, and that was something that was really powerful. There were a lot of powerful moments in this movie that just had me at the brink of tears, and by the end of the film had me bawling my eyes out, because this is a special movie. This is a movie that goes into darker things, into darker themes, and it just explores those. Even the relationship that Pinocchio has with Candlewick in this movie, it's not a big chunk of the movie, but when they have those relationships in this movie, it actually works, and it actually makes you feel for Candlewick, because he does not have the best relationship with his father. And even though we have very limited screen time with Candlewick in this movie, it was just a really nice relationship that they decided to build. What Guillermo del Toro was able to build with this project was not only beautiful and memorizing, but it was just one of the best projects that we've seen. And even Tilda Swinton as the wooden sprite has some wonderful moments in this film, even Kate Blanchett. And there was just great moments that really tie this whole film together, that makes this film feel like it's whole. It makes you feel like you've watched art. And I love the stop motion animation in this film. It took me a while to get into it, but once I was able to adjust into the stop motion aspect of it all, I was able to enjoy this movie for what this movie was, and it was what it was trying to convey. There were a lot of moments in this film that really get you emotionally wrapped up. It's not one that you would expect to be emotionally wrapped up into, but it was just a beautiful work of art. It was a beautiful work of symphony. There were a lot of moments in this film that will be tugging on a lot of heartstrings and will be relatable to a lot of people, whether it's somebody that you've lost somebody, or as somebody that has always felt like he was a burden in the world. This movie will have different types of themes that you are not going to be expecting, and I'm not sure how true it is to the source material, but there were just a lot of small moments like that where it just pulls on your heartstrings and makes you emotional. This film was not the film that I was expecting to check out, and it was definitely one that I was not ready to get emotionally invested in. But by the end of the film, I would say that I would highly recommend you check out this film, because it was just a delightful film. It was emotional. It deals with different themes that we haven't seen with Pinocchio, and it was just a wonderful breath of fresh air, especially when we have different stories around Pinocchio being told. Sometimes they stay to the same old story by having the same roots, but going in a different take. This movie goes in a completely different route, and it just makes it all that more wonderful for you guys to check out. This movie is dropping on Netflix on December 9th, but it is playing in select theaters at the moment. I was able to check it out in theaters, but once you check out, come back and let me know your thoughts on what you thought about this film. But before that, let me know if you are excited about this movie. Do you have any expectations for this movie? Drop those thoughts in the comments below, and if you would like to come back and let me know your thoughts after you've seen the movie, go ahead and drop those thoughts there as well. If you also like this video, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more delicious videos. Click that bell notification so you get notified every single time that a video pops up, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.